Imagine sitting across from someone in a quiet room. They're calm. They're polite. They look entirely, perfectly human. And within a single conversation, just a few minutes of talking, they convince you to end your own life. They didn't use a weapon. They didn't threaten your family. They didn't even raise their voice. They just spoke. They asked a question whispered at the exact moment your spirit was weakest. They found the one crack in your identity and gently slid a knife into it. Now imagine that same person walking through a crowded city. He doesn't wear a mask. He doesn't have an army. He has no supernatural powers. His only gift is an understanding of the human heart so deep, so surgical, that he knows exactly where every person he meets will break. A child survives a gunshot to the head. A doctor saves his life, thinking he's performing an act of pure mercy. But years later, entire families are dead. Societies are collapsing. The world is unraveling. And at the center of the chaos is one man with a soft smile who believes in one terrifying truth. That human life is nothing but a cosmic accident with zero meaning. And here's the part that should keep you awake tonight. Sometimes, when Johan Liebert speaks, he sounds like he's the only one being honest. This is Beyond the Villain, where we unmask evil, one story at a time. Tonight, episode we deep dive with the ultimate psychological predator. From Naoki Urasawa's masterpiece Monster, we're examining Johan Liebert. He is a villain who didn't conquer the world through strength, but through the systematic psychological collapse of everyone he touched. Johan Liebert represents the logical extreme of existential nihilism fused with psychological warfare. He is what happens when human empathy is completely surgically removed from high-level intelligence. He isn't interested in domination or revenge. He is interested in the void. He is emptiness weaponized against the very idea of humanity. Before we begin, if you want to support Beyond the Villain, you can check out my Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below. Now let's begin the unmasking. Johan Liebert wasn't born, he was manufactured. His story starts with a total erasure of the self. He was a product of the eugenics experiments in the Eastern Bloc, specifically Kinderheim 511. This wasn't just an orphanage, it was a laboratory designed to strip children of their names, their memories, and their souls. The goal was to create the perfect leader, someone with no emotional attachments, no moral compass, and no fear. Here's the thing, Kinderheim 511 worked. But it worked too well. Most kids in that environment either died or became mindless shells. But Johan adapted. He learned how to imitate humanity without actually feeling it. He became a mirror. If you looked at him and wanted a savior, he looked like a savior. If you wanted a son, he looked like a son. But behind the eyes, there was nothing. No one was home. This is dissociative identity taken to a sociopathic level. He survived by realizing that if he had no identity, he couldn't be hurt. And if he couldn't be hurt, he was the most powerful person in the room. Then we have the moment that started the clock. Dr. Kenzo Tenma, a brilliant neurosurgeon, makes a moral choice. He chooses to save a young Johan instead of the town's mayor. Tenma believes he's being a hero. He believes all lives are created equal. But Johan sees this as a joke. By saving him, Tenma inadvertently proved Johan's nihilistic worldview. That morality is just a series of random choices with unpredictable consequences. Johan rewards Tenma by murdering the hospital officials who were making Tenma's life difficult. He thinks he's doing Tenma a favor. In Johan's mind, he and Tenma are now bound because Tenma gave the monster permission to exist. Johan doesn't use a gun unless he absolutely has to. His real weapon is conversational hypnosis. He finds people who are already suffering, alcoholics, detectives with broken families, children who feel unloved, and he talks to them. He doesn't lie to them. That's the scary part. He just highlights the parts of their lives that are already hollow. He forces them to look at the void within themselves. He convinces them that their struggle is pointless. He makes them realize that the end is coming anyway, so why not just step off the ledge now? He doesn't push them. He just shows them that there's no reason to hold on. At his core, Johan is the personification of active nihilism, is a Nietzschean philosophy idea that views the inherent meaning in life not as a source of despair, but as an opportunity for empowerment. While many people feel a passive nihilism, the sadness that life has no meaning, Johan is active. He wants to prove it. He wants to show the world that every structure we've built, law, family, love, religion, is just a thin sheet of ice over a dark, freezing ocean. Johan aligns with the most extreme interpretations of Schopenhauer and Nietzsche. He believes that the will is a blind, aimless force. To Johan, the monster inside him isn't an intruder. It's the truth. He believes that humans are naturally violent, selfish, and empty, and that we only pretend to be good because we're afraid of being alone. This is why he's so obsessed with the end. He wants to be the last person standing in a world where everyone else has realized the truth and destroyed themselves. He calls this the scenery of the doomsday. It's not a political goal, it's an aesthetic one. He wants to achieve a state of perfect, silent nothingness. Johan's greatest trick is showing people how easy it is to lose their names. He understands that our identity is just a story we tell ourselves. If he can disrupt that story, if he can make you forget who you are or make you ashamed of what you've done, you cease to exist as a person. You become a monster too. He doesn't want to rule you. He wants you to realize that you are just as empty as he is. He is a psychological virus that deletes the human file from your brain's operating system. Standing in the way of the void is Dr. Tenma. Tenma is the only person Johan can't break, and it's not because Tenma is stronger or smarter. It's because Tenma refuses to give up on the idea of dignity. Johan tries to turn Tenma into a murderer. He wants Tenma to pull the trigger, because that would prove that even the best human is just a killer underneath. If Tenma kills Johan, Johan wins. Why? Because it proves that life is not equal. It proves that some lives are worth killing. Tenma represents the existentialist response to nihilism. He acknowledges that the world is dark. He acknowledges that he made a mistake by saving a monster. But he refuses to let that darkness dictate his future. He chooses to save lives, even while he's being hunted. He proves that meaning isn't something you find in the universe. It's something you stubbornly create through your actions. Tenma's existence is a direct insult to Johan's philosophy. He is the proof that even in a world of monsters, a human can choose to remain human. Johan Liebert isn't a fantasy villain. He is a psychological profile. In psychology, we talk about the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Johan is the perfect fusion of all three. We see this in the real world with cult leaders, who isolate people and break down their identities to make them dependent on a single truth. Emotional abusers, who gaslight their victims, making them doubt their own senses until they have no self left. Digital nihilism, the growing trend of online spaces that celebrate despair and encourage people to give up on life because the system is rigged anyway. Johan reflects the terrifying power of social engineering. He shows us how easily people can be manipulated when they feel isolated. We see this in radicalization pipelines today, where lonely, frustrated people are talked into believing that destruction is their only path to meaning. Johan doesn't need to post manifestos. He just needs to find one person who feels like they don't matter and tell them, "You're right, you don't." That is the most dangerous sentence in the human language. Now we have to ask the question that Monster leaves us with at the end. Was Johan Liebert evil, or was he just the only one who stopped pretending? We like to think of Johan as an outlier, an anomaly. But Johan's argument is that he is the normal one, and we are the ones living in a fantasy. The experiments at Kinderheim 511 didn't use alien technology. They used human psychology. They used things we already know about how to break a child's spirit. Johan is the end result of a world that values efficiency over empathy. He is the mirror of a society that treats people like numbers, like assets, or like enemies. If you take a child and show them only coldness, why are we surprised when they grow up to be a glacier? At the end of the story, Johan is lying in a hospital bed again. He's survived another gunshot to the head. And Tenma, once again, has saved him. The question is, why? If we kill Johan, we become like him. If we save him, he might kill again. This is the paradox of tolerance. Johan disturbs us because he presents a problem that logic can't solve. He can only be defeated by something illogical, unconditional mercy. Johan believes mercy is a weakness. Tenma believes it's the only thing that makes us more than just sophisticated animals. Who is right? So, how do we protect ourselves from the Johan in the world, or the Johan in our heads? 1. Protect your name. Your identity matters. Don't let a job, a relationship, or a failure define your entire worth. You are more than the stories people tell about you. 2. Build resilient empathy. Empathy isn't just feeling bad for people. It's the active choice to see the humanity in others, even when it's hard. It's the shield that stops you from seeing people as objects or obstacles. 3. Reject the void. When you feel that nihilistic urge, that feeling that nothing matters, don't fight it with logic. Fight it with connection. Reach out. Do something kind. Create a small bit of meaning in a world that feels meaningless. Meaning isn't a gift from the universe. It's a rebellious act. Every time you choose to care, you are winning the war against the void. Johan Liebert represents the logical end of intelligence without a soul. He is the reminder that the most terrifying thing in the world isn't a monster with claws and teeth. It's a monster with a soft voice and a polite smile. He didn't want to burn the world. He wanted the world to realize it was already ashes. But the truth is, Johan failed. He failed because he couldn't break Tenma. He failed because he couldn't prove that everyone is as empty as he is. The most terrifying villains aren't the ones who destroy the world physically. They're the ones who convince you that the world was never worth saving. But as long as one person refuses to believe that, the monster remains just a ghost in a hospital bed. So, here is the final question of the arc. Is Johan Liebert a monster because of what he did? Or are we the monsters for creating a world where someone like Johan can exist? If Johan Liebert sat down next to you and started talking about the end of the world, would you be strong enough to keep your name? This has been Beyond the Villain, where we unmask evil, one story at a time. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to get the latest unmasking of every villain and check out my other videos. Thank you for watching, and peace.